Good morning, everyone. We could call this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Jake.
Keisha Johnner,
Here.
Mark Ramey,
Here.
Steve McComb. Here.
Entertain a motion for today's agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. McCombs. Aye. Ramey
Aye.
and John.
Aye. Communications? Board? Jake?
Nope.
None? Moving on to public comments. This is the portion of the agenda which could hear from the public on an item that is not on the agenda below. These could possibly become further topics. Is there any public comments? See anything online? Seeing none, we'll move on. Entertain a motion for today's consent agenda.
I had a question on the agenda, consent agenda. Michaela, we got some raises in there that are classified as merit raises.
Yes,
So I just want to make sure I understand. I mean, that July, we did merit raises and we're doing 2 merit raises in a year.
correct. I have, as you know, a retirement that was scheduled for this year. And then that individual then bumped their retirement up for a couple of months. I also lost another individual that started in April and chose to, decided it was not a good fit for her. So, with that retirement, that opened up some dollars in my budget, that I felt it was in the best interest of my office and really trying to retain people to spread those amongst the remaining people who are now picking up all of that extra work and really have done so the last couple of years, but now they're really being asked to do that.
Okay. So it's really not, you're reshuffling job duties for the second raise. Is that what you're doing?
Correct, yes.
And so you're taking dollars from people who left and redistributing those dollars to these employees?
To the existing employees that are picking up all of that extra work
Okay.
and continuing to take on extra duties.
Yeah, I mean, do we have any concerns at all that in a year, the salary base is going to move up about 11% per employee? And when we get to next year, what does that mean for budgeting and raises and those types of things? I mean, are
Well,
the new duties, what I'm trying to say, Michaela, it's not that you don't do a great job, people don't do a great job, but an 11% increase in 1 year on base salary is pretty significant. When we as a board, from a budgetary standpoint, for merit, didn't think in those terms, about 11% per job classification.
Sure. And I totally understand that concern. My response to that is that, my employees have kind of continually had lower salary points than the competition, than even other jobs within the county. And I'm just trying to get them up to what they see some of their counterparts being paid and trying to retain them. I do have an FMLA coming up and, I want that person to come back. She's trained in motor vehicles. She's fully trained in driver's license. She also is able to do some of the accounting functions. I don't want to lose those people that are doing those.
So there's a
Doing that
retention,
work.
there's a retention component to this as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
So it's not just merit, it's
Correct,
you're battling salary differentials and trying to retain employees
for sure,
and those types of things.
for sure.
Okay. Okay. Well, just something we got to be aware of. I mean, as we go into budget for next year, I mean, like I said, 11%, again, whatever the rationale is, that's pretty significant. So understanding what the change in the valuation of the job, I think that would be helpful, at least for me.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part.
What's the value of the job, Michaela? If we say we're underpaying people, then what should that new base be? I don't know what that is. So if we just keep raising salaries, especially as we enter this next budget cycle, That's going to be problematic from a.
Sure, absolutely. And I
monetary
think,
standpoint.
yeah, and I think those are continued conversations that we need to have.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good questions.
Anyone else? So I've asked for entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and motion to approve.
Second.
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Thank you. On to
Michaela,
business.
Thank you.
On to business. Item number 1 is resolution 2023-84. Miss Michaela.
I was just getting you warm. I was getting you warmed up.
Okay, so this is really a pretty simple item, in my opinion. So we've had kind of a different interest rate environment, as you might be aware. Interest rates went from being really, really low to all of a sudden being really, really competitive. So I've done a lot of shuffling. Right now, banks, we're kind of in an environment where banks actually want, not only do they want deposits, but they want public funds. Sometimes that's something I run into. Not all banks want public funds because of the additional reporting and the additional collateralization that goes along with that. But that's not really the case right now. So when I looked at my depository, as I'm doing all of this shuffling of funds, we had added iPate at the beginning of the year. And I did not realize, I thought I had added iPate for 30 million. I had actually only added that for 3 million. And I've shuffled a lot of our tax collections into our iPate fund because we were getting over 5% on a daily rate. So that was a good place to park our tax collections for the month of September, knowing that they were going to go, the majority of that is going to be pushed right back out in October. So just to make sure that we're in a compliance, I need board approval to do that. Should we be in a position to do that again? I've had banks approach me offering an even better rate. So I've shuffled some of those funds to other banks. And so I wanted to make sure, looking at our depository, that we have our limits as approved by the board high enough so that I'm not out of compliance with the auditors when I park funds in different places. So.
Great.
Michaela, just so that everybody in the public understands, this isn't necessarily what we have in there. This is just,
Oh, I wish.
yeah, right. These are just the limits in which we
I
can,
would be very popular right
yeah,
now if that
right,
was the
exactly.
case.
But just making sure that everybody is aware. Sometimes we understand our jobs, and sometimes when you're looking at it at a high level, people don't always get it. So just trying to making sure everybody is aware.
Yeah. And then Michaela, you and Jake, from an audit standpoint, we're good with these limits and.
Absolutely. Michaela's protecting us here by having these limits high enough that she has the flexibility to move money between the bank accounts. I can't tell you how much work she does on this and how much revenue she's gained for the county this year. We don't understand how much it takes daily on the balancing between all the different bank accounts when it's moving around. It's just a tremendous effort. And she embraces it and takes it on just full force. So there are limitations. I know Mark has talked about being more aggressive with things like that, but there are also limitations that she has to work within. She's absolutely maximized that this year, and you guys will see that on the year end and cash balances.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
We hope so.
Well, I think with just the change in interest rates alone, Michaela,
Yeah,
that's
I
going to
mean,
be pretty
that
material.
helped.
Yeah,
It's
for
probably
sure.
more active now than it was in the old,
Yes.
when it was lower. We
Yes.
get that, but she still had to work really hard just to try and get what the
Yep.
best she did now. So she manages that very well.
That's good. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Michaela.
do really enjoy that part of my job. I like that. So
Mhm. Good.
Thank you, Michaela.
Excellent.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
You did a
thank
great
you.
job. Entertain a motion for approval of resolution 2023.
So moved.
thank
Second.
you.
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Item number 2 is resolution 2023-86, the resolution approving official statement of Atkins project.
Yeah, this is the culmination of all the information we've supplied as you guys have talked through this Atkins thing, Atkins project, excuse me, over the time, and this is kind of our for sale sign for the bonds.
Yep.
So we've gone through everything. I mean, it's a lengthy document as far as
I
I've
did
signed
not
off
see
that it's-
anything. Jake, did you see
Yeah.
anything?
No,
No.
we've made adjustments because we had some time lags and had to redo it a little bit, but, this is just like the other, ones that we've offered before. So
And Michael has signed off and
everybody's ready to go on this.
good. All right.
Board, any other questions?
Nope, I have
Seeing
none.
none? All right, entertain a motion for resolution 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye. Item number 3 is the termination of agreement regarding building permits and inspection requirements between the city of Knoxville, Marion County, and the Marion County Fair Board. Missy.
Hey, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about this. Of course, we've all seen that agreement from 1997 where at that time Marion County owned the Marion County, the property now owned by Marion County Fair Board. And at that time, it was decided that there wouldn't be building inspections, building permits. They would all be done through Marion County since it was a Marion County property. As you're all aware, in 2020, you guys deeded it over to the Marion County Fair Association. Every once in a while, this same old agreement kept rolling around. And so I got in contact with the city, with the Fair Board, and the agreement, this is a termination of the agreement. They can enter into their own agreement since Marion County proper has no jurisdiction and no ties to that property anymore.
The only way that my understanding per the code, that we would have any involvement at the county level, at all, and that would be as if they didn't have a fair for 2 years. But other than that, yes, you know, you're right, Missy, we did sign over in 2020 on the
And-
ground, so I do think this makes this much cleaner.
Ross
Um,
did review this on behalf of Marion County and he's fine with it, so.
Very good.
Board, anything?
Nope.
Um, Entertain a motion for termination of agreement regarding building permit.
Yeah, move to approve the termination of agreement.
Second,
Ramey.
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
aye.
On to item number 4. City of Knoxville lost distribution request. Hello.
Hi, Heather.
Appreciate you, Heather, appreciate you coming.
Yes, thank you.
Heather has sent us as a board an email and wanted to discuss with us the lost. So I'll turn it over to you, and you have some PowerPoints. Is that my understanding, Heather?
Yes.
Good.
Yep. So as the board knows, there is currently a 28E agreement between Marion County, the city of Pella, and the city of Knoxville in regards to the redistribution of Marion County's local option sales tax. The city of Pella receives 8% and the city of Knoxville receives 4%. This was approved in 2010 for Knoxville. That began then the redistribution we received in January of 2014. So in that time, January of 14 to current, Knoxville overall has received 10.6 million in local option sales tax. And of that, a little over 1.6 is what we've received from Marion County for the 28E agreement. What the city of Knoxville has spent that local option sales tax in the past 10 years, we have a vehicle and equipment replacement fund, which is all of our equipment and vehicles for the city are in that fund. We have a replacement cost and lifespan that we make annual contributions for. When those vehicles then come up for replacement, those funds are sitting there that then to purchase those vehicles or equipment. Local option sales tax is one of the main contributors to that vehicle and equipment replacement fund, along with road use tax and our sewer utility for those departments. Outside of vehicles and equipment, local option sales tax has contributed to the downtown streetscape project that was funded solely by local option sales tax. We have trail extensions that we've done, sidewalk rehabilitation programs, street rehab projects, our recent local facade grant, dollar for dollar matches that our local program has been funded by local option sales tax, and as well as the 3 state fund or grants that the city has received from IEDA. The local city matches came from local option sales tax. In 2021, there was a ballot renewal for Knoxville for local option sales tax. This was the flyer that went out at that time on examples of what the city has utilized those funds for, and then what the city intends moving forward to spend those dollars on. Not only for property tax relief, but as I mentioned, some of those projects, being able to staff firefighters and paramedics, purchase life-saving equipment, purchase vehicles and equipment for police and public safety has been a large part of that. And the quality of life improvements at the rec center, the trail systems, and library services. So today I wanted to come forward, that 28E agreement is set to expire at the end of this year. And looking forward for Knoxville, we plan to continue to contribute to the vehicle and equipment replacement fund, our trail contributions. And then the new language that was on the ballot moving forward is for the new public safety city hall facility. And that was the main change in the new language for the local option sales tax moving forward. Knoxville is proposing that the renewal of the 28E agreement would be with the same terms of the redistribution to Knoxville at 4% for an additional 10 years. And there's been a lot of conversations at the state level in the last year or so regarding change in redistribution for local option sales tax. So I think it would be beneficial if we were to enter into a new agreement, that there would be a clause in some language that states that if there were something that changes at the state level, that we can revisit this. There's been conversations that, not much will change. And then some cities have thought that there could be a vast change in the amount received. So I think it would be beneficial to have a clause in there that we would revisit that.
Heather, can I ask a question?
Uh-huh.
Did you guys suggest language for that
I
clause?
have not. I wanted to give this presentation, and then
Okay.
if the board is interested in moving forward, I think that our attorneys could work at proposing that language in a new
All right,
agreement.
just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. All right.
And then I wanted to state what that financial contribution would be moving forward. I have the, local option sales tax is based on sales tax dollars, so it varies year to year. But just over an average of the last 10 years, it's been about 163,000 that we've received from Marion County. So 10 years, about 1.6 for the next 10 years. Unless that would possibly change, but it's kind of hard to predict that because it does change. So
Sure.
that's just an average. And, this agreement that we've had for the past 10 years and then moving forward, we understand that Marion County, it's not something that you're required to do by any means, and it's by the generosity. And so we really appreciate that. Knoxville's been able to do a lot of great projects with our local option sales tax, and we hope to be able to continue that.
Heather, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that I know that when we've spoke about loss before, that it is something that at the county level, we don't have to do. And it is what I use the term as an anomaly. As far as I know, last time the state, we are one of the only, I believe, counties that does it. I'm going to give an example. Dallas County, which has Jordan Creek Mall, they do not give any portion back to West Des Moines, Dallas County. I spoke with their supervisor. He was kind of at awe that we do it. So it is something that I do think that it's beneficial, but it is a gift that we're willing to work with the cities. The 2080 before, this, like we said, was between Pella, Knoxville, and Marion County. So that is something that we as the board would probably, I feel like we need to discuss too on there, so.
Well, I guess I would say this, Heather, I think I'm open to looking at the agreement, but I would want to have, first of all, the language that you would want proposed to put in there regarding state action and what that might be. And we would probably have to work with Jared and his team on what that final agreement might look like. Jake, financially, 4% with no change doesn't materially impact us. I mean, this is a collaborative effort between all the residents of Marion County. It is unique, but it's their money that they're spending and our tourist dollars that are being spent here. So
You guys, the county's budget only portrays the expected revenues at, including the last 20 years worth of 2080 agreements.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's completely, if these agreements go away, you would probably estimate a little higher
sure.
income that you guys would have access to use. But moving forward, at least in the current year, it's at the rate that it has been at between the 8 to
Yeah.
and 4 here. And we have budgets coming up in the next couple months, so
Right.
you will
And
we'll
then,
determine that, so.
so then Tyler, for you, I know you're one of the biggest, not you, I don't want to say users of sales tax. That sounds really negative, but we use it a lot. We use it a lot. We use a lot of supplemental funding for a lot of our projects as well. Any issues with continuing with 4% or?
Continuing on as is fine. The funding allocations that have currently been made from Lost, do extend into FY 25. So yeah, any other changes above what the county's already redistributing could impact the funding, because that would take us to probably an uncomfortable level in Jake's opinion, I'm guessing, and maybe Michaela's, because we were utilizing the majority of Marion County's Fund 29, which is kind of our lost project funding.
Right.
And I do have one other question, if I can, while I have the mic, and I don't know if this is for Heather or the board, and maybe you can't answer it. When we talk about language for changes due to legislative changes
Correct.
in the agreement, if we have an agreement in place without that, is that more robust and maybe for keeping that if there are legislative changes? And I'm just asking, like, if we have a clause that says we will change, then does the state say, yes, you have to change? But if we don't have that, does the state look at that as you already have this agreement in place, continue on
Yeah.
until 2033 or whatever the date
So-
was?
So I guess I'll answer it this way, and the other two can give their responses, or Jared, if you want to chime in on this. I don't think that's what Heather's asking for. I think what in an agreement that could be subject to future governmental action, the agreement just wants to contemplate that the legislature could come in and override us. That's really all that, I think that's all that Heather's asking, is that there's been so many conversations at the state level about a lot of the taxes and how those taxes will be distributed. They're just saying, can the agreement have a paragraph that says, hey, subject to whatever the state legislature might do? So Jared, is that a fair? It's not saying we would be proactive, Tyler, and change. It's saying that the legislature could come in and step on us and make us change.
I agree with that, it's likely best to have a provision in there that we contemplated this. If we didn't, then we might run the risk of having the whole agreement be voided if there's some change that frustrates the
Right.
nature of the agreement, so.
Again, we'll have to come up with the right language, and Jared, you guys will have to review and ensure that it does just that, but that would be my understanding of it. Heather, do you have a different?
No, I would agree. I think I'm not sure when it happens at the state, if it happens, I guess, what those changes will be, but I know a lot of cities have these, not this exact type of agreement, but how Lost is funded, and paying for different projects, certain bonds that Lost is paying for. And I'm not sure when those changes happen at the state, how those will all be impacted.
Right.
But I think, having the clause benefits us in terms of just opening that door for conversation, and to change it if we feel the need to.
Correct.
How vast those changes might be that they make.
I have a couple questions, mainly for Jared at this point. Jared, and regarding the 10 years, do you feel that is okay? Do you have any thoughts on that for the board?
The length of decisions, the ramification for decisions of the board for future boards is always an issue whenever we're talking about long-term contracts. It's more of a problem when we have a decision that's being made that affects the legislative function of future boards. And that doesn't sound like what we're doing here. It sounds like this is a distribution of funds issue. So the last one was 10 years. And when we look at this, 10 years is generally not problematic. Obviously, the longer we go, the law favors shorter term contracts if we can. But we have to, we have competing interests where we have budgetary concerns and, people are planning for things. So 10 years in what I've looked at doesn't seem to be a problem. I know 40 years is too long, so that's the best I can tell you.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I also would like the board to know, that City of Pella has reached out. They spoke to me yesterday, and one of the topics they would like to talk to me later this week is about loss. So, and a loss agreement. So I'm assuming there could possibly be something coming forth here in the near future. But to the board, obviously. Yeah, does the board have any other questions?
I have a question for Tyler, and I just want to clarify it for the public. You're on the Junction 92 shop, your funding model was based on the current distribution of lost funds, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just want the public to know that.
Which over the next the FY 24 and 25, we're utilizing the majority, vast majority,
Right.
95+% of that.
Yeah.
Of what comes in, what we estimate coming into Fund 29, which is the project fund. And those revenues were based off of the percentages of redistribution for the cities at the current.
The current
8 and
rate,
4.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
I do think the board, I mean, obviously Knoxville is speaking to us today, but as we're talking about lost, is this something that we would like to have an agreement like we've had previously, where both the cities do possibly a proposal in the near future, or do we willing to look at each individually?
The agreement, historically, the agreement has been together, and it's you guys' decision with the cities. So, I mean, I don't know.
Right.
This is my thought here, since we do project out, Steve, to your question to Tyler, and both cities and counties use this for projected projects, these agreements should probably be together. And we probably should get the proposal from Pella as well. We should get the language, have a draft. We should go through that process. So we know what the financial implications are.
Right.
Are there any material modifications that Pella might want? We don't know that. That's an unknown. So we should have that discussion as well and have this all as a composite.
Yeah, just on the detail side of the agreements, whoever, if whoever your attorney is going to draft that for the draft or the joint, whatever the agreement looks like. Historically, I think in the language, I looked at it for a while, but it bases the payments because Michaela receives the money monthly and then they have to go through a process to distribute that back out. And historically, it was based off estimations. Department of Revenue would set like a schedule, and it would be kind of a base rate for each month. And then there would be a reconciliation in November. Is that right? They changed their process a year ago or mid-year last year. They are sending it now to all the jurisdictions based off actual collections. And I think the agreement language talks about it more from the estimation aspect and then a reconciliation. So
there's
when we're
a
doing new
process, there's a
language-
process that has to be updated.
a little
Jake.
bit, yeah, I think so. And it's not affecting what the decision is to distribute, just the basis of how Michaela or the treasurer's office has to do it
Right.
each month.
Right.
Okay, so just that's another thing to look at,
That's a good point.
anybody that's looking at the
Yeah.
language.
Very good.
So as the board, just making sure that we're transparent here, dealing with the city, speaking with the city of Pella later this week, was the board willing to allow the cities to work together and possibly bring forth a proposal, then we can discuss?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
I think that's good. I think that's good.
When I submitted the letter to Marion County, I did notify Pella of our request that I was bringing forward today, so they are aware of what Knoxville was
Okay.
proposing.
Good.
Okay, all right.
Good.
So Heather, I will, when I'm speaking with Mike, and then I'll make sure that he's speaking, I'll refer to have him speaking with you, and then your attorneys can work with our, county attorney and possibly future, hopefully in the next month or so, you can bring forth a proposal. So
Sounds good.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much.
other than that, entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved.
Second,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Item number 5 is the 2023 Marion County Weed Commission Activity Report. Tyler, or do we have the weed commissioner on by chance?
I don't-
Anything?
It's Phil Granadike, and I don't think he was planning on attending. I don't know if he's online or not.
All
So this is Phil, former secondary road employee and your long-term weed commissioner. has an annual report that he has to fill in. He gets a lot of assistance from the secondary road department. So this is, just your acceptance of the report that he,
Yeah.
that I will mail to IDOLS
It's a
regarding. his
formality, pretty much,
action.
yeah.
Does it meet all the compliance requirements, Tyler? Because that's why we have it.
I haven't looked at it. Yeah, I received this when it went on the agenda and I did not have a chance to look at it. I don't generally review it anymore. He is the weed commissioner and deals with the state, you know. There's some
He went out
information he
with
gets
Randy
from us,
Carruthers.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I
This-
don't administer the
yeah.
weed commissioner, so I didn't.
This is just
Sure,
an
yeah,
annual,
so-
this is just an annual report that's required by the Department of Agriculture.
So we just receive and file pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I'm just saying is. Yeah. I'm saying since it's a compliance
Yeah.
form,
Yeah, I think what Phil said he was doing when he dropped it off is like he has to report like how much usage they did, which he
Right.
has put.
okay, he's
And
got all
so-
that in there.
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
that's all I'm
so-
asking.
So this is kind of a two-step agenda item here. We did it in separate items. I wasn't exactly sure how to proceed with that, but
Okay,
one is just the report of what has been used for the year. And effectively, that's the compliance aspect to the state.
okay,
He also provided, I think, it wasn't really an action item, it was just a summary of his activity and he had a quiet year.
okay.
So that was like kind of just a paragraph that was just his summary of like how much he did. So it sounds like he had a pretty, in his estimation, a good year with not very many phone calls regarding needs in the right of way. And then the next component or next action on the agenda is like a certification. I don't understand the language, but it's a state form effectively saying that you guys will approve him to do this again in 24. And you generally have this on your January, first meeting in January thing to appoint the weed commissioner.
Yep.
So it seems a little
Mhm.
bit duplicate, but just checking the boxes essentially.
Okay,
So that, I think what she has there is the next action item. Yep.
So two
Just-
action
this
items,
is
two
an-
separate action items.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
alright.
think so.
Okay.
That's the way I enter.
all right.
All right, entertain a motion.
So I'll make a motion to approve the activity report of the weed commissioner.
Second,
McCombs,
aye,
Ramey,
Aye,
Johnner.
Item number 6 is the weed commissioner certificate. Oh, wow,
verification.
wow, I can't.
It's all
speak
right.
today, Yeah.
It's all right.
Energy-
I'll move to approve whoever certifies
Okay.
for the activity of the weed commissioner as yet unnamed.
second,
Ramey,
Aye,
Johnner,
Aye.
McCombs.
aye,
Item number 7, Class C retail alcohol license for the venue of the Gathering Grounds. Board? I don't-
I'm missing, you stand there like you want to.
He's anxious.
All
I don't
right.
know that the Van Pollens are here. This is
Yeah.
just a renewal
I
for
don't think
that
we have any issues.
event center
Yeah.
down there. We have,
Sheriff is good.
I don't
Yep.
believe we've heard from anybody else.
Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve.
second,
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs,
aye,
Ramey.
Aye,
Item number 8 is the site plan for Next Link Tower. Missy.
So this is a 120-foot tower that is on the property at 1175 Upton Street. This actually was described as, that Nextlink had representation at the zoning commission meeting. And this tower was requested by the property owner, but does have the ability to serve up to 2,000 property owners within 10 miles. So they do have the ability, if they have other Nextlink customers, to use this tower. So it is then considered a commercial tower. It's not just his
Okay.
personal tower. They hadn't disclosed that until the meeting. We did have a public hearing at the zoning commission meeting last week. There was no comments from any neighboring property owners. As you can see, they're putting it 69, they're putting it right beside the property owner shed and 69 feet from his house. That's where he requested it be put. And none of the language in the zoning ordinance as far as restrictions, it restricts it from neighboring properties, it restricts it from the right-of-way line. It doesn't have any restrictions if that's where the property owner wants to place it, that says they can't do that. I included I made them supply me with his acknowledgement that the tower's that close. Again, Shane, did tell us that they have like $5 million in insurance on these towers. So if there were to be any claims, if that tower came down, that would cover that. So it's a monopole tower. It's about 160 feet off the right of way from the closest that I can measure. So it is more than adequate. And again, we have, as of January 1, 2023, we did change to allow cell towers to be in the A1 zoning so long as they met the restricted part of the ordinance that I outlined for you. And it meets all the requirements and the site plan meets all the requirements. So it did get approval last week at the zoning commission meeting.
What's the normal length of a lease on a tower like this on private property?
I don't know that there's a normal length or that we define the lease agreement. We do also make them sign the abandonment clause. So if that tower was to no longer be in use, then they have, I believe it's 180 days to take it down. So you have
Okay.
180 days to dismantle it.
Okay.
So nobody up, you stated here, Missy, that, nobody had any, questions,
Nope.
concerns.
We
Okay,
didn't get any input from any of the, I think there was 4 or 5 people notified. We didn't get any input from any of them. Of course, again, the major impact, if there should be any impact, and also then I'm gonna say the advantages of the tower are from the property owner requesting and allowing the tower to go on its location.
all right. Board, no further questions? Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan as proposed.
Second,
McCombs,
aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Item number 9, Marion County Comprehensive Plan discussion. Andrew Collins,
Yes,
appreciate you coming
thank you.
today. Andrew is with MIPA. You're going to present possible for the board to be thinking about comprehensive plan options. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Turn it over to
Thank you. Yep. Thank you for having me today. I'm here to talk about comprehensive plans in general, just how that applies to Marion County and just options available and next steps. So in general, and this is not necessarily for the supervisors, but for everyone here, what MIPA is. We get that question a lot. So I thought it would be prudent to pull out a section out of our soon to be adopted updated bylaws. Basically, we are a membership organization for the cities and counties of central Iowa. We really work for our member communities. We really do see ourselves as an extension of all the community staffs. That's how we treat ourselves when we work on projects and do things for communities. So that is why I'm here today. And so in a land use context, MIPA has assisted Marion County with several items. We've done updates to the zoning code in the last year and a half, and currently finalizing some updates to subdivision regulations here in the county. So the next step is to review comprehensive plan. The existing land use plan was last updated in 2013. It's now 2023. 10 years is the expected time frame for review of comprehensive plans. The reason for that is that's about the amount of time that it takes for a community to really change. When you look at land uses, priorities, things change over time in a community. So once every 10 years, it's a good idea just to take a look to see if those priorities and what you want for your community is still the same, or if it's changed, make those changes. So I pulled some quotes out of the code section, Code of Iowa. So in general, to have zoning, counties that have implemented zoning must have their regulations made in accordance with the comprehensive plan. And then when defining the comprehensive plan, that plan shall be made in consideration of smart planning principles. So zoning is written regulations and laws that defines how property in specific geographic zone can be used. Pretty basic concept there. And basically the state code has said that if you're going to do zoning, either in a city or in a county, you have to have a comprehensive plan to base those zoning codes off of. So in general, a comprehensive plan is a document that's designed to guide the future actions of the community, but it's also a vision. So you have these long-term goals, you have objectives, you have activities. It's a way to take this vision that you've identified and get there through your land use regulations. So yeah, in the state code in about 2010, 2011. It was codified to define what a comprehensive plan looks like. Before that codification, there really was no guidance from the state level on what you should or should not include from your comprehensive plan. That obviously caused just some confusion on what you're supposed to do with that. So they added these what are called smart planning elements. Think of these as your chapters of your plan. You would have a chapter on housing, maybe not called housing and transportation, but you have those chapters that address those items, those aspects of your community that impact land use decisions. Obviously, hazards are there, your community facilities, and you also want to have an implementation plan. So this just generally is what your comprehensive plan looks like. And on the next slide, you'll see what are called smart planning principles. They come out of the same part of the state code, but basically these are what you do, what you look at every time you make an action or you're writing your plan. So not all of these will apply in every situation, but generally you should be thinking of community character, how you're collaborating with your partners and your stakeholders. When you're looking at your transportation network, you're supposed to be looking at that in a holistic sense. So you have your chapters and the smart planning elements, and then your review lens with smart planning principles. So this is just some basics. When you have a comprehensive plan with your current land use plan, that should be the basis from which you make all your decisions referencing land use. So it should be available at your county meetings. I know it is, but just in general, it needs to be available just to reference every once in a while. Shouldn't be put on a shelf just to be never looked at. That does happen. I'm not going to say it happens here because it obviously doesn't, but there are communities where that does happen. Community input helps. And just in general, your comprehensive plan, your zoning code, and your subdivision regulations are your primary tools for land development. As you develop as a county, as a community, the choices you're making now impacts hundreds of years from now. You obviously have buildings from 100, 150, close to 200 years ago. They're still standing. So the decisions made 200 years ago impacts your lives today. This is just a general component list talking about this is not an exhaustive list, but typically you have a housing analysis, you have your economic review, you have goals and objectives, implementation steps. And I'll note here that in your comprehensive plan, it should be taking into account all of the activities that the county is doing. So if the county is doing like a housing study, this would be the opportunity for that study to be put into the plan or guide the plan development for your housing chapter that would then focus on how do you regulate land? How are you having your zoning regulations put up? When you talk about densities, when you talk about site setbacks, minimum lot sizes, all of that ties together. So this is that opportunity to bring in your various activities and plans that are being done elsewhere in the county, not necessarily just for the comprehensive. So here is your current land use map. This is pulled directly out of your existing land use plan. I don't know if it is probably not quite super current, but it's just the general idea that this is your current land use. And so this is what's listed in your comprehensive plan. And then when you go to the next slide, your comprehensive plan is supposed to take what you have in your land use with your current plan to how do you get to your future land use? If you have the comprehensive plan is that tool, it's that guide, it's that vision. How do you go from that first map to this map? That's as basic as I can make it for what a comprehensive plan is supposed to do. So you really have three options, general options, I should say. There's a lot more options, but three general options. You have option one, which you can update your land use plan. You have an option 2 and an option 3. Option 2 is to do a full comprehensive plan update with MIPA. Sorry, I was just, you can go back. And the third is just going out and hiring a consultant to do it. So with your option 1, basic land use plan, so what you currently have. There are advantages and disadvantages to all options as there is to all things in life. The advantage is the least expensive option and it can be completed the quickest. So if you needed to get something done right away, you don't want to spend a lot of money, this is the best use of those funds. The disadvantage there, it just provides the least amount of analysis and justification for zoning. Typically as a planner, when I look at your comprehensive plan or your land use code or land use regulations, how do those connect? And I'm always thinking too, as you know, you can always be challenged in courts. And when you get a court review, how do those things connect is a big component of if you're going to win or lose a case. So thinking of that justification, this provides the least amount of that analysis and nexus between those two things. And it does not to integrate other plans or initiatives that Marion County is undertaking. just because it does typically focus on the physical features of the county. Think your steep slopes, think your flood zones, think your transportation network, basically existing infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily take into account all the other items that affect land use. So just the next slide shows just how your current plan marries up with the smart planning elements. So I won't read the screen, but basically you have 3 elements that are fully included. Those are your physical features. You have 3 elements that are partially included that are addressed, and then you have 7 that really aren't addressed. And I want to note here too that I'm not saying your plan is not compliant. It is. Since 2011, 2012, there have been court cases that further defined what you have to have, right, to be legally compliant, and your plan is legally compliant. This is just an analysis to show how it compares to what a comprehensive plan, the ideal comprehensive plan, looks like as said in state code. So your second option is to work with MIPA. We do write comprehensive plans. The last one we just did was for Hartford. We wrapped that up earlier this year. Pre-COVID, we worked with Melcher Dallas to get their plan updated as well as their zoning code. So that is one item, one option that you have available. That would be a full comprehensive plan update, including all the principles and elements, and bringing in any of your existing or future plans, projects that you're currently or might work on. So the advantage there is the cheapest option that meets everything the state defines as what comprehensive plan should look like. Gets you that necessary information for utilizing zoning as a tool for Marion County to meet its land use goals. Disadvantage takes about the same amount of time as your next option, which is using a full consultant there for that. And it's not necessarily as compared to option 3. We're not graphic designers, we're planners. So we will make we can make a very professional plan. It just won't be as top-notch as graphic designers typically make those plans. So your option 3 then is a full comprehensive plan, same kind of plan, just you go out and ask a consultant to do it. There are a lot of great consultants out there. Many of the cities, I know Knoxville and Pella, both use consultants for their plan update. They do a great job. It provides all the information you're going to need. It's well designed, includes all the work from planners and different professionals that you would need. But at disadvantage, it's the most expensive option. It's going to be expensive, but it does meet everything that you need there. So next slide, I think, is my last. So just kind of what's next. Now I've laid that out. So use supervisors along with your staff. Just consider available your options. There's a lot there. There's the 3 basic. There's probably more, but those are your 3 basic options. I would ask that we have time at a future work session to be able to come back and present more information, maybe bring examples, have further deep dive into it would potentially be beneficial. I'd be happy to come back and help that discussion along. But just considering what your vision is, what the needs are, those are your options available as I see it. I think that's my last slide. So I'd be happy to take any questions. It's a lot talking. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate that, Andrew. Board, you got any questions for Andrew?
Carla, how does this sync up with what we do in economic development?
Missy and I have been talking about this as far as a timing aspect. We are in a couple weeks going to kick off our housing study, which will be done by the spring. We have already kicked off our strategic planning process, which should be done the first quarter of 24. So having those 2 elements in addition to our other planning, it sets us up nicely from a timing standpoint to then be starting into a comp plan, maybe the first quarter of 24. With having those documents just being updated. So in an ideal situation, like we've talked about, I think it's very important to have your economic development strategy incorporated into your future planning view so that you're looking at where does industrial go, where does housing go, where are the best locations for those based on the layering of infrastructure that exists or the layering of what is easily attainable to certain sites and areas. So I think there is a huge advantage from a future planning standpoint to have economic development incorporated into your strategies for land use.
Very good. No, I appreciate that, Carl. I think that would be, I mean, I don't have it right now, Andrew, I'd look forward to more information, cost,
Yeah.
the type of plan. In the corporate world, Well, a lot of businesses put together 5 and 10-year plans, mostly 5-year plans. And just like you mentioned, they sit on a shelf and other factors get in the way and steer everybody off course. So for a county, a governmental entity to do this, similar to what we just talked about on Lost, where we could have state regulation come in, we could have all kinds of variables come in and take us materially off from where we were, or we could get together and do the largest demo project that's been done in Southern Iowa in a long time. We need to have it contemplate economics and transportation. It has to have those components for me to be supportive of it. Otherwise, it becomes a one-off and it'll sit on a shelf, guaranteed. Because other factors will enter in that we won't contemplate in that plan. So the more we can rope everybody in, the better.
We did a very basic plan. We didn't adjust the map. We didn't, in looking at the map and what we show around the city and working with Carlos Group on strategic planning, I think we need to really revisit our land use around the city. That's where we need to focus on. Potentially, that's where we have to do the rail first. We need to look at that, not just as residential around all the cities, but potentially commercial and industrial. Because that's what service can do. I can tell you that even though we have a basic guide, you all know we went through a situation where that basic guide proved that we were following our land use plan and it kept us, from moving on in the next. So it did prove valuable. I do use it as a reference guide for compatibility. We amend our land use plan, and the guide, so we have parts for this in counties where we're gonna have 41 commercial industrial housing. We do have to amend them, and that's an extra step is where we have to amend, land use plan before we can consider rezoning, but that's a plan that would protect the people.
Yeah.
You're right, so part of meeting, we've got a lot of real alternatives, a lot of it that were there. And also, our land use plan is gonna incorporate Tyler and where we wanna go as far as development roads. And so there's a lot of things, and I guess the reason I have to come is this also would have significant impact to budgetary, and if we just look for the budget season, I need to know where we wanna go and.
No, that's great, Missy. Great context. I'll look forward to more discussion on what that might look like.
Thank you.
I agree too. I look forward to that. So no further questions? We'll close discussion. Entertain a motion to close discussion.
So moved. Thank you, Andrew.
Second.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Item number 10 is resolution 2023-85, authorizing bids and setting date for public hearing for Marion County Maintenance Facility, which is the Road Department Junction 92 facility. Tyler.
Yeah, we don't necessarily do this on every project. However, the scale and size of this project, I felt that this was necessary to basically this resolution is establishing the schedule for us to proceed with the project. Or the project schedule, including the board authorizing the bid letting date, the notice of public hearing, or the date of public hearing and whatnot. And in the packet that I presented with the resolution, just so everyone's aware, today we'll set those dates for public hearing and the letting date. On November 13th, the architect and I plan to have a pre-bid meeting to, discuss any questions bidders may have. It's currently not a mandatory meeting, and we probably won't do a mandatory pre-bid meeting. The architect says lately they've been having a really good turnout for pre-bid meetings that are not mandatory. His caution was that if you make it mandatory, some bidders that can't attend for one reason or other may not. So you may limit the number of bidders, but he's been having really good attendance here just in the last few weeks. So that's encouraging that the contractors are hungry and that, they're interested in projects like this. So that would be on November 13th. On November 28th, this would be one of the dates, in the resolution. So on the 28th, we would, receive bids prior to 8:30 a.m. at the courthouse. Because of the doors locked, we don't have full-time staffing out here. We're receiving bids at the auditor's office. And plans will be available up until that date there as well. And then my suggestion was we open those bids as the first order of business in the public board meeting, at 9 o'clock. So bidding would close and be received by 8:30. Then the auditor's office would transport those here, and then we would open and read those aloud as part of the first item of business on your agenda would be my request. That's the way this is worded. If we would like any changes, that's why the resolution says on or about the plans and specs, because if you wanted to change that, we'd go back today and revise the specs because they currently include those dates and times.
Right.
And then, so after opening bid, then the architect would review those for accuracy, for responsible bidders and whatnot. And then, on December 12th, the board, we would present a resolution approving final plans and specifications, hold the public hearing, and hopefully award to, a responsible bidder on the 12th of December. So if you are all good with those dates, times, basically the draft final plans, were sent to you this morning via a shared link, a very large file.
Yep.
We'll make any final tweaks to that today. It sounds like either late today or first thing tomorrow, the plans would then be to the printers and the plan rooms and distributed, and notice to bidders would go out, which is actually nearly 6 weeks here prior to the bid letting date, just over 5 weeks maybe. And that's a good time frame. You know, the architect recommended no less than 3, but 4 to 5 is better. So gives them time to look it over, solicit subcontractor bids and whatnot. So we're comfortable with that timeline.
Yep, appreciate that, Tyler. Board? No
No,
further
it's good.
questions?
It's good for me.
Entertain a motion?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Johnner.
Aye.
McCombs.
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you.
On to Board of Supervisor updates. Mr. Amy?
Yeah, the only, it's already the end of October. Time flies. And now we start thinking about budget. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware that Lindsay and I have been working for the last almost a year now. Is it about a year, Lindsay? On a budget template. We presented it in several meetings over the course of the last year. We're working on some refinements to that. Lindsay will be reaching out to many of you. I know Michaela, she's already reached out to you to start to gather information to populate that template so that in the meetings in November, we can present kind of a rough outline in public meeting and discuss where we want to go from here as far as utilizing the template and utilizing that process. So just be ready for Lindsay or myself to reach out, asking questions. Again, high-level financial questions. We're not asking any department to say, boy, I know exactly what my salary line is going to be and exactly what my number of employees are going to be. These would be rough estimates so that we can begin to fill out the template so that the board can look and say, hey, we'd like to also see this. We'd like to also see this. Jake will obviously be getting a lot of phone calls as well, as far as revenue, projections, interest, those types of things. So just be ready for that as we start to gear up for the end of the year and the start of next year. But we'll be doing that probably over the course of the next week and a half. Lindsay, do you need to add anything to that, or did I cover it? All right.
Mr. McCombs?
Yeah, I had a DCAT meeting last Thursday in Indianola, and I We'll currently have a HERDA meeting this Thursday.
I have a few things. I want to remind the board, compensation board appointees, I believe ours are up, as of this year, so we need to probably have an agenda item, the next meeting if we want to, discuss appointees, we want to reappoint, just be thinking on that. So
Mhm.
just want to make sure that you're aware of
Who
that.
do we have? Who's our,
We had, Lyle Vandermeiden and Bill Shepherd.
okay,
That's,
all right.
so. Those, I believe, I have spoke with other, though they are available, but again, we'll make it an item that we can further discuss. Want to remind, the public also that, coming out this Friday, which would be 10/27 in the Marion County Express, that we're selling, we're looking, to sell the property of 104 South Sixth Street in Knoxville, which is also known as the Marion County Annex. We'll be receiving bids, the morning of November 28th, at our regular supervisor meeting. Third thing, would be I have an impact meeting this, week on 10/26, and then I have, Central Iowa Workforce on 10/27. Other than that, have no, entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second?
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Joner.
Aye.
Very good.
Thank